Welcome back to Operation Freedom, folks. I'm Dr. Dave Janda, broadcasting from our ancillary bunker linked to Remain Freedom Bunker in the People's Republic of Ann Arbor. We're here for you every Sunday from 2 to 5 Eastern, 24/7 at davejanda.com. As I've outlined through a number of the segments today, your host, Dave, is very concerned that the financial system of our country and the world is changing. Now, the good news is if you're prepared for this change, you're going to do just fine. Just beyond fine. But my assessment is that about 99.9% of people in our country are not prepared for this change, for this currency debasement and debt debasement, also known as a reset. We see the most enormous quantities of physical gold and physical silver over the past 2.5 weeks coming into the United States by historical terms ever. Folks, it's a huge heads up. And you need to protect yourself. And my next guest is someone who he gets a lot of heat for telling you what you need to know, and it might not be what you want to hear. And in fact, he's a visionary. He saw this coming many years ago. And he said, not enough people are prepared on the food and the water filtration side of this. Because when systems reset, supply chains become adversely affected for at least a short period of time, and historically over a medium-term standpoint. And what he did is he put everything aside and founded a company called Numanna. Numanna.com. Numanna. Storable food, water filtration products. He essentially built you a lifeboat. And in the process of building you a lifeboat, all he did was get a lot of grief. Oh, this is conspiracy theory. Oh, this will never happen in the United States. This will never happen in North America. This will never happen in Western countries. Well, it is. Dan Brigman, truly a Renaissance man. He wrote a great book, Forever 1776, website forever1776.com. Founded Numanna, as I told you about. Was a radio host of the Power Hour for years. Again, warning people what was coming and how to protect yourself. And here we are. Folks, this development over the past couple weeks with the amount of physical gold and physical silver by the tonnage coming into the United States is not just about Trump putting tariffs in. That's the cover. No, it's about a reset. Currency reset and a debt reset. And you got to protect yourself. It's my honor to welcome back the CEO of Numanna.com, Dan Brigman. Dan, welcome back.
What a pleasure to be here. Quite an introduction. Quite just exciting times we live in. Thank you so much, Dave.
So, Dan, am I off on my assessment?
This is one of the most. We're going to look back, what has it been? 2 weeks, not even 2 weeks that Trump has been in office. This has been the most consequential, the most upheaval we've ever seen in a presidential inauguration ever. I would say by far, probably exponentially. The whole American experiment, the whole American ideal has been in the direction of our ship has been drastically changed in 2 weeks. And I think that you are spot on that a total change in so many aspects of our country is happening right as we speak right now.
Well, and the good news is that Trump is there. Can you imagine? I mean, we'd all be goners if Kamala Harris was sitting in that Oval Office. The good news is we have President Trump there, who's a financial whiz kid, let's just call him that. And it's interesting, his choice of words. We're entering a golden. Notice he didn't say he's golden age of America. You see, Dan, I believe the reason people say, why is he pushing these tariffs so fast? Why is he doing? Because I think he's trying to speed the process of getting these physical gold and silver into our country so that when the reset occurs, we actually have physical gold and silver on hand that potentially can be used to back the new currency or whatever, the new currency. I think that's why he's pushing. Now, I could be way off on that, but I think this tariff thing, he's using it as a means of getting to the end result that's needed. Is that reasonable?
Absolutely, it's reasonable. It must be looked at. Last night, I don't know if you covered this or if your audience heard, there was a hockey game in Ottawa, in Toronto.
Oh, yeah.
Or Ottawa, sorry, Ottawa Senators, I believe. And the crowd booed the American national anthem in Canada because the NHL plays in both countries. They play both national anthems. When the American national anthem was played, the crowd booed. This is almost inconceivable that Canada are, I would say, our closest ally for sure, closest neighbor, closest trade partner, biggest trade partner in so many ways. The crowd totally changed, and we're seeing a total realignment of people's perception of what America stands for. And you go back, I've talked many times about Kennedy. Kennedy's assassination was a turning point, was one of the 2 or 3 major turning points in American history. You can go back to the Federal Reserve Act, the change of our financial system in the early 1900s, up until Kennedy. You had this idea that elected government, that our constitutional republic, and now evidence is coming out, and it appears that Trump is about to release some evidence, is about to point the finger squarely on LBJ, the LBJ with the CIA, with the mob. All this information, it appears it's coming out, had Kennedy killed. His mistress is quoted as saying that those GD Irishmen will never embarrass me again after tomorrow. And she's quoted as saying that in an interview. LBJ, the CIA, the mob, it looks like, killed JFK, which is what we suspected for quite some time. From that point, LBJ was the first one to change our immigration policy in a major, major way. And what we see today is the impetus that he began. And from that point, the way the aid went across, the way money went across, the way our financial system has been sucked dry like a vampire to this New World Order, that was the turning point when the deep state New World Order completely took reins and hold of our country. And now we're seeing that is a dying model. We're seeing the socialism dying, unelected bureaucrats in Europe. It is dying. The Davos crowd, the Bilderberg crowd, I think that they are even realize it's unsustainable. Our this fractional reserve, Federal Reserve system is not sustainable. And in 2 weeks, Trump is trying to thread the needle on some sort of transition and sort of steer us from literally going off the economic cliff of this country. And now, what are his choices? Dave is, I'm sure talk about this way more than just me on, but what he just said is very, very profound and very insightful. The economic system that we see must be changed because what we have been doing is unsustainable. And here we are. We have a narrow window and everything beneath our feet that we have seen and that we have taken for granted. All the money last night, the USAID site was basically shut down by Trump. We're seeing executive order after executive order erasing these decades of deep state policies, no matter whether you agree with them or don't agree with them. He is destroying, literally destroying all the decades of this. And I hesitate to use Democrat, Republican, but he is
Right.
literally destroying the Democratic Party with every step he takes of these stay-behind networks, of the money, of the system, of the NGOs. I don't know if your audience understands. This system was funneling money to NGOs, non-governmental organizations, from your taxpayer money to the NGOs, that they would go to do the bidding of these policies, these ideologies. You know, let me hit this home even further. And this is it okay if I go to this direction?
Absolutely.
Okay, because this is very broad, but it's very important.
Yeah, it is. It's key.
When JFK lost or won the election, he beat Nixon, and it was an idea in America. Okay, well, you know, we disagree on certain things, but Kennedy's American, Nixon's American. We still believe in our Constitution. We're going to go forward. It's great. Since that point, we have seen this two-party duopoly, oligarchy, whatever you want to call it. That you can't say that anymore. You have seen the policies of Biden, no matter you agree with them, don't agree with them. This is so night and day between what Trump has done and what he has shown and what he is for than what the previous candidate. It doesn't even look like the same country. It's not even the same country. It's not Kennedy beating Nixon anymore. Trump beating Biden is a complete annihilation of this deep state attitude and our socialist financial fractional reserve banking control mechanism of every aspect of your life. And this is about a 3-hour conversation, and I just had to give it to you in 3 minutes. What we are seeing now is a realignment and it's trying to steer us off the cliff, and a reset. Dave used the word reset. A reset of all these policies, of all the directions. He immediately went after the tariff situation in these countries. Why is Canada booing us? Why are they upset? Well, for the last 40 years, we've basically subsidized them. Trump is 100% right. Canada would almost implode. Their economy would implode if we would not be propping up their financial systems. That is not hyperbole. That is reality. Right. And we are tired of doing it. We cannot do it. Mexico, their economy would implode. 43% of their economy is on exports. Who's their biggest exporter? The United States, 80%. Their economy has been used by all these policies, all these ideas, all these immigration ideologies, this reshaping of America to take the wealth, the manufacturing, the creativity of the United States and ship it to foreign soils. Canada, Mexico, China, number one, China. And Trump is saying, no more. This cannot happen because we're about to go over the cliff, and this has got to be reset. This is unbelievable. This is you're going to look back, I believe, and this is going to be one of the most exciting, fantastic, unbelievable moments in the history of the world and certainly the history of our country. And I don't think I'm exaggerating.
I don't either. In fact, James Howard Kunstler, great political writer, recently wrote about the great sorting out begins. And here's what he said, Dan, and it blends right into what you're saying. Quote, this, as they say, is one of those weeks when decades happen. You realize that under the fiends that fronted Joe Biden, that the U.S. government became a demon-driven machine for wrecking lives, perverting the law, and demolishing all scaffolds of decent behavior. And now, it all has to be fixed, cleaned up, fumigated, rectified, rehabilitated. And it comes down to accountability, Dan. It comes down to accountability. And I think that's what President Trump is doing, right? He domestically, accountability. Internationally, accountability. And he's using tariffs to bring about that accountability. I heard just the last half hour from somebody in D.C., Mexico is caved. Mexico is caved. I don't know if it's out on the wires yet, but this is somebody on the inside who contacted me. Mexico has now come back to Trump and said, okay, we'll go after the cartels. You're allowed to be involved in going after the cartels with us. We're blocking fentanyl coming in from China. And we're blocking illegal immigration coming into the United States. That's what we're willing to do.
They're all going to cave. They are all going to cave. There's a book called China Mirage, which is a very important book, which details, chronicles the American political elite, the British, whatever you want to call that, the old guard, basically funding the heroin, the opium dens in China and using it to suck the silver out. Well, China doesn't operate in decades. They operate in centuries. They remember this stuff. And they remember what they did to them. They see this fentanyl as a situation where we're just doing to you what you did to us 200 years ago. Yeah. Literally. This is what Trump talks about Greenland. Trump talks about the Panama Canal. He's going to get them both. Why? Why is he doing it? Because he is finally standing up and taking our preeminent position in the world to defend ourselves, because he knows China is eyeing both those things. China is eyeing Greenland even more than you believe that Trump is. Yeah. China is eyeing the Panama Canal. It is the supreme strategic world canal. Yep. The supreme strategic world canal. And to even think about having somebody else control that but the United States is so asinine. I mean, Jimmy Carter just died. I don't want to speak ill of the dead, but my God, to give away what cost us 30,000 lives out of nothing. It was a miracle that we built that. And this is the ideology that Trump is stepping in and saying, no, that is our damn canal. That is ours. And you either run it like we want it run, or we will make you run it like we want to run. Take your pick. Greenland, we're friendly with you. We love you. We want to have a presence here. And we don't think Denmark can defend you if China attacks you. But we will. And it seems like you just wait. This is a total realignment of what it means to be American, of what this country stands for. And Trump stands at the game. I don't care if you hate him. I don't care if you love him. This is the most unbelievable 2 weeks in the history of the United States, probably since Washington crossing the Delaware. I mean, literally.
I completely agree with you, Dan. And in fact, I think it's even going to get more interesting over the coming weeks. You know, Dan, there are so many people that are unprepared on this, what happens with the financial reset, that are already behind the eight ball, right? So before Biden left office, there was a statistic that came out that, and Mike Schneider wrote an article, if everything's so great like Biden and Harris say, why are millions of Americans sleeping in their vehicles? More than 3 million Americans fall into that category. Add to that an issue you and I have talked about, close to your heart, about food insecurity. Now, when people hear food insecurity, they're saying, well, you mean like if food's tainted? No. It's defined as experiencing difficulty to meet basic food needs in the span of 1 year, including the inability to buy enough food, buy balanced meals, or eat regular portion size, as well as skipping meals because you don't have enough money to purchase food. 18% of all households where children live in the United States are food insecure. That's the baseline. Now you add to that a reset situation where supply lines are stretched, let's be kind of say stretched, and we got big problems. And that's where you come in, Dan. This is where you come in, because too many people in this country, I can tell you, are like, oh, no, that's not going to happen here, and I'm not going to need that, and I'm not going to be... No, so Dan, talk to us about food storage, water purification, because people don't hear this enough.
There is a reset. There is not the great reset of Klaus Schwab. Trump is trying to do the Trump reset, where America comes back. The upheaval that is about to be created, the uncertainty that is about to be created, this will not be a smooth ride. This is going to be a bumpy ride, ladies and gentlemen. And every avenue of our supply chain has already been stretched from the last 4 years with COVID, with Biden, with the policies, with foreign entanglements foreign agreements. And my opinion is you cannot turn a blind eye to this, because how this is going to shake out is really no telling. The next 4 years, from all my sources who really know and have told me, have been very accurate, the next 4 years will not be, you're going to see things you can't even believe. And what does that mean? I don't know. What does that look like? I don't know. And I don't know if anybody really knows, because we are trying to dial back. And if you are not filtering your water, if you're on city water and all our infrastructure, and look at Flint, Michigan, you think Flint, Michigan is the only one who's not filtering their water? You need to filter your water. You need to get back to something. You need to have some food on hand. You need to have some store so that you are resilient. You need to be resilient. You know, we've heard that word be used so many times on this green economy. Give me a break. That's a joke. You need to be really resilient, what the word really means. And that we have some great products. We got sales. You can use the coupon code Janda, and we feel that you can get prepared and be able to be sustain yourself, your family, in the face of no matter what happens. You know, you may not. There's too many things for me to even list, honestly, and I don't want to be a prognosticator of doom and gloom, because I think this looks bright, but I also think that we're going to have to, thread the needle here.
Yeah,
and it's going to take all of us, and we need to be sustainable in what we do at our home level. That's where we will have strength.
And Dan, what are the minimums people should have as far as storable food and water filtration?
Well, you should be filtering your water now, and you can get the Duraflow filters. There's containers. If you have a Berkey filter, these filters fit in those. If you have that type of housing, which is really nice, stainless steel, these type of filters are the best on the market. They take out fluoride. Berkey filters don't, unless you have the add-on. I mean, the flow rate, they're amazing. You need to filter your water. That's number one, period, especially if you're on city water. If you're talking about, I don't know where everybody needs to start where they are. 2 weeks. If you have 0, then your goal should be, I'm going to have 2 weeks for my family. If you already have 2 weeks, my goal should be a month. If you have a month, my goal should be 3 months. Even the government has recommended, certain agencies, FEMA has recommended 90 and 180 days, so 3 to 6 months. That's what they've recommended, and I think that's wise. That gives you, and it's food that it's good, it tastes good. It's you get non-GMO organic options, so that this is probably more nutritious and better than what you're eating now on a regular basis. So